Thanks for listening to the AZ12 podcast, proudly presented by Little Caesars. All right, just so you guys know, Cody is not in here for the next couple days, so I don't know quite what I'm doing here on some of this stuff, but the show is brought to you by Little Caesars, code LCFREECC, free crazy combo with any pizza purchase, or a $10.99 bundle where you get a pizza, you get a pepperoni or a cheese pizza, 2-liter, and crazy bread for $10.99. All right, now joined by Arizona Wildcat Authority poster legend, the great D'Artagnan, a.k.a. Jesse. Hello, Dart. How you doing, my man?
Good morning, Mike. Thank you so much for having me. I want to quickly echo what my main man, Yodafo, said last week, that it's really cool to see how you all pivoted this last summer to go on your own. Mm-hmm. When I found you a couple years ago, I was looking for some Arizona Wildcat enthusiasm, and you bring that in spades. So It's an honor to be a part of it.
Well, I appreciate you being on. And again, you guys need to get your stuff going back because I enjoyed watching and stealing all your information. We need some more of this.
We would love that. Both Mike and I are extremely occupied with other things, but I'm hopeful one day that he's just going to be like, okay, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. We'll figure it out. Yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay. Tell people a little bit about your background first, because you have a lot of interesting little connections to this game.
Yeah, as I was trying to hint earlier when we just checked in, I actually grew up in Connecticut, right around the time when Calhoun, Chris Smith, Tate George, all those guys were making that first run. For those of us in my age group might remember, I think it was 89, 90.
Right.
So I grew up around the madness of New England basketball. And there's something, we can get into this more in a minute, possibly. There's something about New England basketball that transcends a level of obsession, a level of entitledness, of arrogance, like all the stuff that West Coast folks like us see from afar. Right. I grew up in the regionalism of it.
Right.
So I'm excited to talk with Torres a little bit about that because I think it plays into this game that we're gonna talk about. I then moved to Boulder, Colorado. So I am, by undergrad, I'm a Colorado Buffalo, but my grandparents, get ready for this, Mike. My grandparents in 1987 started spending their winters in Green Valley. So probably because they
Green Valley Decorative Rock.
Exactly. They probably wanted to know, where is the future home of the greatest landscaping company in America? And so my dad came to me with a Sports Illustrated, had Sean Elliott and Steve Kerr on it. And he's like, this is a team nobody knows about. And in the middle of it, I was just feeling all this UConn excitement that felt like really sort of fabricated.
Right.
And I was like, no, I don't want that. I'm going to root for this team. And so you know how those young sports attachments happen. It just got in my blood. And
then it's organic from there. It's fantastic.
I would record on the VCR, those Thursday night Prime Network, Dan Belwamini and Barry Tompkins. Yeah. They were on so late in Connecticut that I would get up at 4 a.m. before school and watch the VCR recordings of those games.
Dude, that's amazing. Yeah, there would always be like a late game at like Haas Pavilion with Jason Kidd and Todd Bozeman or something. Yeah.
Totally. Khalid Reeves going coast to coast. Ed Stokes missing dunks. All of it.
Yeah. Don't remind me about the Stokes.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's get into Arizona UConn. We're going to be joined by Torres here in a little bit. But first, listen, the run that UConn basketball has been on in the last 20. Well, we'll go back to 40, basically since early 90s, late 80s. It's been kind of unprecedented. You got 6 national championships in that time period. I've always felt that the best program builder in college basketball history is Jim Calhoun. I mean, you can make the case for Lute, but Lute, as much as we love Lute, did not accomplish what Calhoun accomplished. And you're in the middle of a place that didn't have any basketball tradition before that. It's not like you've got this. It's not like Stores Connecticut has this thriving local brand. So. And then you see it, Kevin Ollie comes in there. He sucks, but his team was good enough that he won a championship. Now you got Danny Hurley in there. Danny Hurley is at the apex of college basketball. He's the best coach going. I don't know that it's close. He excels at roster construction, player management. He's fantastic, man, and we're going to get into the matchups here in a second. But what makes Danny Hurley so special?
That's a great question. I wish I knew more. I'm actually fascinated by Danny Hurley because it's not often that somebody with his level of, let's call it, self-confidence is appealing to me. But watching his team play, they're sort of an N of one, and we'll talk about it as we get maybe more into the metrics and the matchups. The way they execute offense and the elegance of his offense and the systems he runs, it leads me to believe that his confidence comes from a real source of knowing that he can teach. Because like almost any basketball coach at this level has the knowledge. Knowledge is probably never the limiting factor, right? But it takes a real teacher to be able to translate whatever your ideas are to 18, 19, 20-year-olds and then have them perform consistently on a super high level, which he has. But the amazing thing, Mike, is that I was looking up some UConn history. They've only won tournament games in 3 of his seasons. The 2 national titles, and then last year they won the first round game. Otherwise, it took him a while to get going.
It took him a while at a lot of his spots, that Rhode Island, but, once he gets going, it also shows the level of, having some patience in there. All right, now,
That's
I'm not
right.
riding. Hey, Marcus, I'm not riding you off. You're going to El Paso, man. I'm hoping that you're okay in there, El Paso. Yes. Now, let's see here. Just ask Danny Hurley, and he'll tell how great you are, Dick Wilson, or how great he is. But, it's weird. Like, I don't necessarily like it, but I don't have a problem with it if you back it up. It's the, Michael Jordan, they always said, was like, and that's always what cracks me up. Michael Jordan, they're like, oh, he's the most confident, this and that. But with somebody like Michael Jordan, it's a competitive instinct. With Danny Hurley, he's a jerk. Danny Hurley, to me, has gotten I always compare Danny Hurley and Bobby Hurley to Bob and Mike Stoops, in that one guy got all the stuff up here and the other one learned how to yell a lot. It's baffling to me, but Hurley's awesome. One thing I like about him too is that the roster construction that he puts together. And let's start talking about it. You look at that point guard position to begin with. You got Jaden Bradley, you got Demery. Obviously transfer from Georgia. This is a game that, Jaden Bradley has got to hold his own or win every matchup for Arizona, and I believe that he's uniquely qualified to do that at this point.
Uniquely qualified is a great term. When was the last 5-star McDonald's All-American recruit that played 4 years?
Right.
I know Colin Boswell, ironically,
Right.
But like who started as a freshman on the number 1 team in the country, then transferred to play off the bench and then continued to play 3 years. I think what I love about Bradley is his steeliness. He is going to show you his value. He doesn't need to talk about it.
Agreed.
And you could see it last year. And I was watching for it in the St. Mary's game because it's an exhibition game and I want to see how these guys approach winning. And you could see the first 75% of the game was geared toward running our stuff and getting people involved. And then when it came down to winning time, Bradley started running the middle ball screens and just said, no, we're not going to lose this game. Obviously, he did the same thing against Florida on the highest level. So, yeah, we're going to need Bradley to be the best version of himself. He's got to be better than he was against UCLA. Yeah.
You know what's interesting to me? Like all off season, people were worried, and it was a fair point. Who's going to be the Caleb Love this year? Who's going to be the guy that when the chips are down, we need a bucket? Who's going to be that guy? Well, right now it's Jaden Bradley. And there wasn't really any. I don't know that there was any real doubt about it. He has an amazing ability to be able to run the ball. To be able to finish in the paint. He had a multitude of high floaters off the glass. Yeah. I love when he shoots threes because it opens things up for him, and I think that he can make those as well. But you're right. You're going to need 40 full minutes of Jaden Bradley in this game. You're not going to be able to get just the 5. Yeah,
sorry. Like Sheer mentioned yesterday, it might be a Jason Gardner-esque 40-minute game. Do you think, Mike, that one thing – here's what I think, and I'm going to pose it in the form of a question to you. Mm-hmm. Do you think over the last few years, let's say from the Princeton loss forward, do you think part of what we're seeing in the culture of not being afraid of the moment is part of Tommy's growth?
Yes, I think it's part of Tommy's growth, and I also think it's a big part of joining the Big 12.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I always looked at with the Pac-12 was there just wasn't a real competitive fire from most of those programs. I mean, some of the times you could come in and Stanford would beat you, or Cal would beat you, but Arizona wasn't really taking that stuff seriously. Now you could blame Arizona, whatever you want to do. In the Big 12, if you don't bring it, if you don't show the gumption, you're going to get embarrassed. Yep. And that's just the way it is. You could get embarrassed against a team like Kansas State, or you can get embarrassed by a team like Houston. There are a lot, and T. Burns 826, but you can't be fearful in the Big 12. This was really a sink or swim moment for Arizona. And once they got to Big 12 play, and I think they kind of started to figure things out, you saw growth, you saw a toughness in last year's team that you didn't really see from maybe some of Tommy's earlier teams. Yep. And I always go back to this, and Murph told me, he goes, I don't know that we win that game against Oregon if we're in the Pac-12. And I agree with that. Yeah. I think it sets you up for those kind of moments.
Well, and I think underlying all that is there is now a substrate in the Arizona culture of toughness. There,
Right.
the level, you could say it simply that like the level has been raised. So where their baseline is not where it was, certainly not in the Pac-10, Pac-12 days, and not even a few years ago.
Right.
And I think that's one thing that UConn, when you talk about UConn, I think Arizona fans are going to maybe not appreciate, but respect when they see this tomorrow night. Like their baseline level, when you talk about Danny Hurley's level of expectation, there is no other alternative.
Right.
There's no alternative.
I look at it too, and I look at the accountability, and I love Tommy Lloyd. I think I think it's really short-sighted to say that you don't want Tommy Lloyd here for the next 80 years. I mean, the guy's a winner. He's a gem. One of the things that I was, I don't want to say hard on, but I didn't love some of the accountability early on in his tenure here. But that's all because I think he kind of allowed guys to do what they wanted to a certain degree, unlike, somebody like a Danny Hurley. But I also got to give him a lot of credit. As he's matured as a coach, he's either not recruiting that type of player or he's just not putting up with it anymore, And I think back to his first couple of years, you could always count on Kirk Kriisa doing something really dumb in the last couple of minutes, like getting a technical or woofing and taking it away from the game, and there was never really stopped. Obviously we talked about Boswell. This team and last year's team seem to have a real accountability factor to it at this point.
Yeah, I think what you're hinting at here is really important. And I mentioned earlier, I have like 15 years coaching experience in high school, and then I coached in the WCC. There's my little Final Four trophy.
Very cool.
Yeah, cross country version of it. But I would say from the time I started, when I was 23, that I didn't necessarily learn much more about the technicality of the sport.
Right.
It was really about like how much was I going to face my own maturity. Right. And I think coaches who are willing to self-reflect and actually consider their own developmental process as part of the team holding are the ones who really go far. And I think we see that Tommy Lloyd has that in spades. Last year was a watershed moment when we were 4-5. We came back from the Bahamas. We like fell apart at the end of that UCLA game. That was a moment where a less mature coach could have really unraveled.
Right.
And he actually, and you lose Krivas, right? So he pivoted and showed an incredible amount of humility, but also resilience. Right. So that to me, like we haven't yet seen the quote unquote postseason proof, but to me, I've seen enough to know that I trust him. Yeah. TIT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AZ Wildcat fan just put a dart is too smart for this show. Yes, I know. It's like I'm looking up at like the mountain or something, just like getting knowledge like sprinkle down on me. But yeah,
no,
totally agree. Yeah. All right, now Tom Smallwood, very much appreciate you, Tom Smallwood, and everything you do. Big 12 is keeping a $20 super snap. Big 12 is keeping us competitive going into March. So tired of just dominating the conference and coming up short in March because we're not tested enough. Perfect. I can't really, I can't put it any better than that, and I know Joseph Delgado couldn't put it any better than that as well. All right, now let's look at that shooting guard position. Now, here's where it gets fascinating for me.
Yes.
I believe Braden Burries is going to be fine. I don't know that he's necessarily, we've talked about this a million times. Yeah. I don't know what kind of NBA prospect he is, but I don't really care about that for college. This is a game, he's going against solo ball, obviously. I think he's just got to play better. That's the best way I can put it. Offensively, he's just got to play better.
Can you define what you think fine means for Braden Burries' freshman season at Arizona?
That's a great question. I was thinking about that last night. And you're not only are you smart, you're a mind reader. Honestly, 12-4-3. I don't need outland. I don't need 17 points per game but MNBA. Sorry, Halsey, I appreciate the check there. But 12-4-3, something like that, and to just look comfortable and to have some games too where you look like the best player on the court. Something like that. What do you say?
Well, I think you're right on. And I think what's wild about this time period is that, like, when I was thinking about Arizona comps, tell me what you think about this comp. I was thinking about Khalid Reeves, right? A bigger guard, but like Khalid probably never dunked, like maybe once, right? Against Michigan when they're up 30 or something. Right. But like, we don't have a runway for these freshmen anymore. You have 9 months to basically become what the fan base wants you to become.
Khalid came in and averaged 9 a game. If he came in and averaged 9 a game this year, people would be going crazy.
That's exactly. Right. You know those stats. I was wondering if you knew that.
9.1, if I'm not
That's
mistaken.
Right. I just looked it up. Nice, good job. Yeah. And if Burries came in and didn't get any better,
Right.
he would be fine if the trajectory is 3 or 4 years, but the
Right.
trajectory is like March.
Right. Yeah. No.
So I love what you're saying. I think fine for Burries would be like he's not going to be limited by his abilities. He's got those. He's a winner. You saw what he did once we saw the CIF results, I was like, okay, this kid's a winner. He doesn't jump off the screen, but what he's doing is he's finding his ways in which he can contribute. And so I think it's going to just take reps. I wouldn't expect a ton from him tomorrow, but I think once we get back and we've got Denver and we've got like a couple more of these bye games, he's going to really start to settle in and find out like what this version of him can contribute.
Agreed. All right, let's get to a couple reads here. Then we're going to talk about solo ball, not duo ball, solo ball. All right, let's see here. Hold on. All right, so everybody, I'm running this thing, so be nice. All right, so we got, all right, Little Caesars. Already read that one. We'll get that. All right. Welcome to the Rock. All right, Dart. Let's see. Hold on. There you go. Can we get one of those from you? Come on, you got it.
People should be reading books instead of burning them.
Holy moly! Hey, say that again. Yeah, say that again one more time. That was amazing. Do that again.
Welcome to the Rock.
Welcome to the Rock, Stanley Goodspeed. All right, now you talked about it. Somebody, who lived in Green Valley?
My grandparents, late '80s.
Well, they were precursors to the Green Valley Decorative Rock movement. I think that we can put them down in that forefathers aspect. 2 convenient locations, Tucson plus Green Valley, serving residents and contractors. 50 plus locally sourced landscaping materials. Check it out. East of Benson, Sierra Vista, west of Marana, south to Nogales, north to Oracle. Okay, now Copal. All right. We had a watch party there. We're going to have a watch party again next month. I got to give the sisters, Joseph and Marcus, a lot of credit for showing up there as well. They're actually real people. Also, got to give BCAT, McDeath, all Dennis Walsh, everybody, a lot of shout-outs. It was a great time. You can get the Mike Luca Lotte rib with any purchase. It makes me feel good about myself. Mexican food delivered nationwide at mymexicanmenu.com. Use code AZ12 for 10% off your order. Book your next party or large corporate event with Copal. All right, now, a week ago today, I had the championship package inserted. And it's going really, really well. It was only $19.97. A lot of times you got to go to, Congo or something, and it's going to be the same price, but, you might be getting something else in there you don't want. All right. Aerostental, they do exactly what they're supposed to do. Owned by Arizona local alumni, Land the Man with the master plan. I do not believe this is a sister. Nobody believes this is a sister, but we will treat this woman with respect. Dental implants at affordable rates, daily urgent care. Lan is the man. We love Lan Allen on this show. Duh, you should too. All right, now let's get back here. All right, let's talk. Hold on, Dart. Like I said, I'm running this thing, so be nice with me, everybody.
You're doing a good job. Producer, you're Pete Rosing it.
Oh, I'm amazing. Yeah.
Player manager.
I'm just not gambling on it. But, okay. So let's talk a solo ball then. What does he bring to the equation? He's obviously very, very good.
What scares me is that he's only shooting 30% from 3, and we know how this goes with Arizona opponents, right?
Yeah. Right.
So I would expect that he is 3 for 4 in the first half.
Yeah. Right.
But I think when you talk about breaking down matchups, I think the thing about UConn that's so special is it's not even when you watch UCLA, the offense is not very complicated. If you can cover a couple actions, you can kind of hang in there. UConn runs really complex, intricate systems. So I think it's going to be a great challenge for the Arizona coaching staff to be able to say, what kind of principles have we worked on so far that we can actually cover these guys? So I think Lloyd's tendency is to try to limit easy twos. Right. And he's going to take his chances with 3s. So I'm a little worried about Ball. How about you?
Yeah, I'm a little worried about Ball. I'm also worried about Caravan. We're going to get to Caravan in a second.
Oh, I know.
Caravan is the one that scares me the most in this game, and it's weird. I'm looking at the matchups, and I think Koa is a better player than Caravan, but Caravan, for what he does, I think is – listen, I understand Tommy's philosophy, and I'm very much of a trust in Tommy guy, but when Arizona loses, it's generally because you're just giving up wide open 3s, and you decide, well, you know what, hopefully they'll miss at some point, and sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And so, we shall find out about that. Did you see that stat that was put out there? And I think it's real. Kobe Alfield put it out there, and I think he got it from someone else. I can't remember. But when Krivas was in the game against UCLA, UCLA shot 31% on 2-point shots. When he wasn't in the game, they shot 81% on 3-point shots, or 2-point shots, excuse me. That's not a coincidence. I'm assuming that's true. I mean, it's the internet. They don't lie. But at the same time, if if that's true, I mean, that basically, that speaks for itself.
Are we doing the Krivas rant now?
Yeah,
I can go.
All right,
I can go there.
Go on,
jump there?
Krivas. Yeah. Come on. I want to hear Dart. This is your do it.
It's my time. Okay.
Yeah, your time, baby.
Well, in the context of UConn's offense, which I think they're 7th in the nation per Torvik in effective field goal percentage, these guys have no weaknesses in terms of offensive efficiency. We can get into some of their other like little dents in the armor, but they score close, they score mid-range, they score from 3. So we shouldn't necessarily worry about doing any tricks. I think you just have to be solid, and your best defense is playing really good offense. Now, Krivas was unbelievable to me against UCLA, and I'm unapologetically saying that. His awareness on the defensive side of the ball has grown leaps and bounds from his freshman year. If people watch the tape, you will see how much he's doing in their help coverages.
Right. And
no, he's not Mutombo, and he's never going to be Hakeem. But for a college guy who's 7'2", he is holding his own in the paint. I worry about.
Can you talk about his defense a little bit again for the people in the back, like Dennis Walsh, the great Dennis Walsh, and Marcus Delgado? Yeah,
look,
please go ahead.
Yeah, and I think Dennis Walsh and co have fair frustrations and criticism. So, this is not apologist. I think it's important to appreciate what's not so obvious about Krivas. Right. And I think what he does is he really disrupts a lot of the secondary actions that get closer to the paint. His feet are quicker than they look, and his reach is good enough. The guy can't jump over a phone book, right? So it's not comfortable to watch as an Arizona fan, but he can get in position enough to alter shots. As to the stat, let's also mention this. I think this went unmentioned. I think because of Peat's foul trouble and some of the matchups, I think he played 19 minutes in the first half. Talking about Krivas.
Yeah,
against
it was
UCLA.
17, but it was 19, 17, whatever. That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot of minutes. And then he played 34 minutes.
Right. And here, he had a play. That play where he drove to the basket then off the one dribble, I'll be honest with you. And Dennis Walsh, don't lie, you, Joseph, either. I did not know that he could do that.
That was a step. That was a step in confidence.
Yes, there's little things like that. And again, generally when a coach speaks of generally when Tommy Lloyd speaks on somebody, he's turned out to be right. Now, there are some guys that he's been wrong on, but overall, I'll still never forget when he came in his first season, and I asked him about Christian Coloco, and he's like, because keep in mind, Coloco averaged like 2 and 3 his previous year or whatever it was, and he says, I expect him to contend for the Defensive Player of the Year. And everyone was just like, have you seen the guy? And lo and behold, I mean, and he said many of the same things. I mean, my bad, Pella Larson. He said the same things about Pella Larson. He said he knows what. Tommy has generally been right when people have been skeptical of him about a player. And again, Umar Ballo's another one. Umar, for all of his flaws, I thought that I always say this, I thought he was going to be a Eugene Edgerson type. You come in, you throw some bows, you sweat on some people, and then you go to the bench. He was an all-conference type dude. Tommy has generally been right about this stuff, Dart.
Mike, you can take it further. I know I've said this, so I apologize to the Wildcat Authority folks. I've posted this number of times. Every 5-man that Tommy has coached at Arizona, except for Emmanuel Stephen, who left, has earned some level of all-conference accolade. Think about that. Every 5-man, Coloco, all-conference, Ballo, all-conference, Vesar, all-conference, Awaka, all-conference. So Krivas, those were honorable mention, right?
Right.
And Krivas would be the first not to do that. Mm-hmm. So I think we trust Tommy until something goes haywire. But I think Krivas, we live in an era of highlight reel obsession, and Krivas is never going to make a highlight reel. Right. So, if you're skeptical about him, I totally understand that. Like, watch him on certain possessions, don't watch the ball, and start to appreciate the sort of like less highlight reel things he does on defense. The offense is coming. That like side, that sort of wing ball screen role that he did, like you're saying, the show and go where he went around Booker and laid it in. That was nice.
Like I said, I watched that, and all I could think about was giving Dennis Walsh the glove on that one right there. But no, it was, and then and AZ Wildcat fan puts it really well in here. He says catching the ball in traffic was an area where Krivas had been bad, but he was noticeably better versus UCLA. Yeah, I totally agree with that. And that's the thing, is that he's just got to keep growing. You just got to keep getting more. And again, like you said, I don't expect him to be Akeem Olajuwon, but I will say that, like I said, if he can do what he's been doing, and the UCLA game was perfect for me. If Arizona could get those kind of contributions from Mount Crevis every single game, you will take that every day of the week. So
yeah, and I think like from what I'm seeing on offense, he's just doesn't have the confidence and the processing speed to make the like move innate, and so he pauses, and in that pause all his problems happen, getting stripped and like getting doubled, but it's starting to speed up. Like that pass to Del Orso, he had two of Del Orso's threes, I think, helped us take the lead. Obviously that big one at the end, those were both doubling Krivas, and he was like a tenth of a second away from holding it too long and getting it tipped, so like he's getting there. Again, I think he's got his hands full tomorrow, but he needs to make, if Arizona isn't going to have a chance in Gamble, he's going to need to take a step. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about that matchup then. You got him and Terrace Reed. Reed's an interesting guy for me. I don't think he's as good as his numbers are this year, but I also think he's better than his numbers are the previous 3 seasons. I don't think he's like a 20-10 guy, but I also don't think he's 9-4. I think from an impact perspective, and you tell me if I'm wrong, I think he's probably about a 14-8 guy. And obviously blocks shots. He's a good player, man. He's a good player. Krivas is going to have his hands full on this one.
Well, and like you said, like he's Danny's guys are never going to be afraid. He's big. He's kind of like a hybrid of a Waka, and he's like 6'9", but he's big and strong, and he's going to be more athletic. So it's going to be a real test for our front court. However, in one of my keys to the Arizona path to victory, I believe one of the small advantages we do have is rebounding. And so I think in order for us to have a shot, we have to go right at those guys. We got to go right at Caravan, right at Reed, and we have to hopefully get a couple early fouls.
Yeah, I agree with that.
You got to get Krivas, Peat, and Awaka to the free throw line, and you got to kill them on the boards. And those are not big advantages. I'm saying we have to somehow make them, bigger advantages than they probably should be.
All right, let's talk about Caravan and I said Caravan earlier. Well, it's going to be a Caravan guarding Caravan.
We're on the Caravan for sure.
Yeah. So, all right. So here's where I'm at with that. This matchup, I believe Peat's a better basketball player. This matchup terrifies me though, because Caravan is one of those guys that UConn can be down 2, and then you look up 3 minutes later and they're up 11 because he just made 3 or 4 3-pointers, and none of them even hit the net. They were so pure. That's the matchup there that just worries me and will continue to worry me.
Yeah, and back to our point about Danny's teaching ability, when I watch UConn, I'm so impressed with the veteran decision making. They look like they know exactly what they look like Tom Brady at his prime, where it's like he knew option A, B, C before the defense even reacted. And that's what UConn's offense looks like when you have 3rd and 4th year guys in there. And Caravan, like Cam Spencer, he was playing chess out there and just was like toying with people, even though he was half the speed of some of his defenders.
Right.
That goes to show how like coordination in basketball can outplay athleticism. And I think Caravan's an example of that. I think Pete's a better athlete and clearly a higher ceiling.
Right.
So it's going to be a fun challenge, because Peat has been well documented. His experience is not that of a freshman. Comes from he's the youngest of 7 like professional athletes. He's played FIBA. He does not scared either.
This is the kind of game for Koa where Koa also believes that he needs to dominate. I believe Koa needs to dominate on the offensive side. He needs to be able to get the ball, and there's no reason he can't, because Caravan, for all of his stuff, for as much as he can do, he's just not. He's the kind of guy that Peat should be able to score on. Again, he's not overly long. It's not like he's a super hyper athlete. Yeah. He should be able to get his as well. So if he is going to get something, then he should be able to get his as well. Big 12 Bobby is in here. Hello, Big 12 Bobby. Yeah, what say you, Dart?
Well, I think what we're going to watch for in the first 5 minutes, especially after UCLA, where Peat was exposed in his ability to make the B and C option. Florida basically said, we're going to play you one-on-one because we don't think you can beat us, and he torched him.
Yeah, let me know how that goes.
Right. So, if I'm Danny, I'm sitting there saying, if I can guard Peat and Krivas and then Awaka one-on-one with Reed and Caravan, and I can do that, game's over. We don't have a chance. But if you've got a double Peat, now the next level in Peat's development is, can I make the quick read?
Yeah.
And Krivas and Peat and Awaka all have to make quick reads. And then, so here's my question to you. If you can get shooters to make shots, and that's what scares me about, where Burries is right now.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a game? And I'm not a guy who cares about starting lineups.
Right.
You cannot get down 15-5 in this game and come back.
Agreed.
UConn's too good.
Agreed. Especially at home.
Do you consider starting Delhi just from the standpoint of maybe you can hit a 3 in that first segment to keep it close and weather the tide?
I was and no, I would root for Arizona, Joseph. Nice. I'm just trying to talk to you the whole time. It's a good question. I would probably keep it the way it is, but I'll say this: I could easily have ADO in within the first minute.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's one of those things like if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of situation. There is something nice about having ADO, and it's funny too because all the people that beat up ADO, they're like, "Oh, we don't want him to start." Now people are like, "Should we start ADO?" It's fantastic. Yeah, so,
I know it's we're a maddening fan base.
Yeah, but it's great.
But it's great.
I would keep the lineup the way it is, but I would have ADO. I would have ADO.
Standby.
Yeah, I'd have ADO on standby. Literally, like they do every time it's like a big free throw. Hey, ADO,
right,
stand right next to me and hold my hand, and I'll push you into the game.
Well, I would guess what's going to happen then if you start Karchenkov, and I'm a big Ivan fan, right? If you start Karchenkov and Burries, and you've seen what those two have done in 4 games, and Bradley, I think Bradley's going to have a great year from 3, but he's not looking to take step backs and off the drill
side. Not Damon Stoudemire.
No, I'm doubling Peat and Krivas off of Ivan and then off of Burries, and I'm saying, show me what you got. Right. And so, if we can hit a couple of those shots, which those guys are capable, but it's a lot to ask. Right. And you're going to have to hit a few jump shots to be in the game against UConn. Yep.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the wings, the guards, and a little bit of the bench as well. But let's get a couple reads in here first, though. All right, back to reads, everybody. All right, like I said, let's see here. All right, this is going to be good. This is going to be flawless, I can tell. All right, there's
You're
that.
on fire today, Mike.
Dude, I am on fire. Okay, now, this is amazing.
Give it to him.
I just did it. All right, perfect. All right, Bridge Tech Communications. Now, we've talked about Dennis Walsh. Joseph and Marcus don't actually work out. They don't lift weights. They told me that they're scared of the gym. They don't really know where they're going to go, all of that stuff. And a big reason that they don't know what they're going to do and where they're going to go is because they don't know anybody that is pushing out an actual gym. Bridge Tech Communications says, come to us, baby. 750% average ROI. You don't have to worry about stepping on venomous rats or lizards or anything in a bad gym. They will make your gym better just by being them. 100-plus health entities across multiple states. BridgeTechCommunications.com. Oh, we got Torres in there. We'll be adding Torres in a minute. All right, now RJ's Frozen Cactus. Now, this place is so big. It's got the biggest parking lot in the entire city. Dennis Walsh has literally flown above it, and he said it's like looking at the Great Wall of China. That's how big it is. It just sticks out from probably the moon. That's how big it is. Huge parking lot. You could park a jet in. Home of the AZ-12 watch parties. $100 craft beers. Not a great deal. 100-plus craft beers at $2 deals. Pizza, wings, tacos, burgers, and more. No bad seats in the house. Check it out. RJ's Frozen Cactus. All right, check it out. All right, now we got one more in here. All right, Longview. Now, I'm going to be having lunch with Andre later. That doesn't mean I'm going to endorse him. Not endorsing him. Not on my watch. Nice try, Andre Veras. Okay. Now, did you recently change jobs or anything like that? Andre can help you manage your old 401k and learn more about your new entire retirement plan. Give Andre a call at 520-325-3456 and reference the AZ-12 podcast. Ask for the Mississippi Gladiator, and he may or may not answer. But either way, we will not endorse, but we will highly recommend. All right. Now, let's join another. We've got two UConn. I'm outnumbered by UConn people here. Hold on. How does this work? Hold on. Oh, I got this. There's that. Oh, we got to add Torres to the screen. That's why. Oh, hold on.
There it is.
All right, hold on, Torres. We got this. We're moving it up. I'm running the show today, so give me just a second. All right. Nobody wants to see me most. Okay, there's that. That's not good. Hold on.
Wow.
Yes.
Oh, we did it. Yeah. It shows you why I had to have a producer.
Peak sports journalism. Yes.
All right, Jesse, a.k.a. D'Artagnan, raised in UConn. Aaron Torres, our UConn/Arizona fan. They both know a lot about UConn. Say hello to everybody.
What's up, fellas? How we doing? Sorry, I was just doing my show, and now we have this Lane Kiffin interview on McAfee where I'm pretty sure he's not going to say anything of note. So it's a busy morning in the world of sports media. I'm just sorry that McAfee got Lane Kiffin and you got stuck with Torres. But other than that, I'm doing good. I hope you guys are doing good too. So,
Aaron, I want to ask Aaron real quick, Mike. Are you old enough to have grown up seeing the Whalers play at the Civic Center?
I was at the last Whalers game.
Whoa!
What a
so
flex.
true
That's a
story.
flex.
Yeah,
Yes.
sick brag, bro.
Yeah.
So true story. So my uncle was a Whaler season ticket holder. He has no kids. You know, I don't want to speak for him, but I was kind of like a son to him, I think. And if I remember correctly, about 2 years before they actually moved, it started coming out like, oh, they're snooping around, and there was a big kind of civic local push to support the team, and so he bought season tickets.
Save the whale.
Save the whale. That's
Yes.
right. Yeah. So I still say to this day, I've probably been to more I've probably been to more NHL games than I have Major League Baseball, NFL, and NBA games combined, which is crazy because I've been to 2 NHL games since the Whalers left Hartford, but I probably went to 50 when I was there. I was there when Brendan Shanahan returned. As you may remember, Mike Luke, it was a big deal.
It was a huge deal.
The Whalers acquired Brendan Shanahan, and almost immediately he demanded a trade. So he came back with about, probably a few weeks later with the Detroit Red Wings. And when I tell you Hartford was on fire that night, Mike Luke, I mean, you haven't seen Hartford like that. I mean, you think Gample's going to be crazy on Wednesday night? You should have seen Hartford when Brendan Shanahan returned. Let me tell you all about that. So,
Guys,
and actually, funny last story.
Mike's trying to stay on script here.
No, keep going. Yeah. Keep
Listen,
going.
Mike's going to take us so far off
I know.
script. You know,
Yeah,
we're gonna
no,
need to
trust
pump
me.
this in a roadmap. True story. Brendan Shanahan got fired as the Toronto Maple Leafs GM while I was on air on Fox Sports Radio at some point, I think last year. And I told that whole story just like that. I said, good. He had it coming to him for the way he treated the city of Hartford. So, yes, I vividly remember I was at the last Whalers game. Still have the whale tail. As a matter of fact,
The whale tail? What is the whale tail?
Oh,
what
yeah.
is the whale tail? Give me a sec. I'm going to hold on.
You have a whale tail?
Hold on one
Sean.
sec.
Yeah, I will say
Talk Arizona. Talk
Yeah.
my in my childhood home, my dad still has a pennant with the Hartford Whalers logo on it. It was the biggest deal because in Connecticut you don't have any other professional sports teams.
Right.
So we had the whale, and
Right.
the Celtics used to play 4 home games in the Hartford Civic Center, now the XL Center, and they were trying to increase marketing interest and reach in Connecticut. So my first time ever to the Civic Center, I was about 9 years old, and Larry Bird dropped 43 on the Hawks.
Is that
There it is.
Is that the whale tail?
That's the logo.
All right. So first
Yes.
of all, one I got to put headphones in so I can hear you guys. But so one, Mike Luke, this is education. This is the whale tail right here. So I was
That's awesome.
So I was in Bradley International Airport. You may have heard of it, Mike Luke.
Jaden Bradley International Airport.
It is, there is a rumor that
As of
it's named after
yesterday.
Jaden Bradley. But so this is Whalers gear, and I saw it, and I was like, I need a winter hat, and my wife, who just amongst us boys, she doesn't chip in for very much, but she's like, let me buy that for you. You'll like it, whatever. So about a year ago, I was at a Rams game, and I wore this hat because it was this time of year. It was starting to get cold. I got more comments about the Whalers hat than, you could be wearing a replica Salim Stoudemire jersey, and I don't know if you would get more compliments on it. Like, I got so many people at a Rams game that were like, I can't believe that, the Whalers, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, this is the whale tail right here. I may have to go. Yeah, I may have to go back live here if Lane Kiffin announces he's coming back or going somewhere. But
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
I actually was. It's not happening. He's. I don't think he intended for it to be a game like the way that it's come out. But now that it's out, I don't.
How do we get Dilly to LSU? Get him out of the state. We don't need him here. How do we get?
You
how do
know,
we make that happen?
I give all of us content creators, man, like. They're the guy that does the Lockdown LSU thing. He's like almost like the Mike Luke of Baton Rouge. Like he's a big deal down there.
Then, yeah.
But he finds new angles on this coaching search every day, and I'm like, where does he find this stuff? But yeah, Kenny Dillingham, as of yesterday, was the betting favorite on some site. Yeah, so
we will take it. Okay.
Anyway.
Now, all right. Tell me generally.
The whale tail, yeah. You want to talk more about the
whale
tail?
tail? Is awesome. Man.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. Plus, Torres has that calic right there. That looks like a tail too. It's like the whale tail calic.
There it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. When kids back in the day, it was generally not white kids that did it, but they shaved that that line down their head or whatever. That's kind of what Torres looks.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yeah,
it looks great.
I'm going for the Will Smith look, the Jada
Larry
Pinkett
Johnson.
Will Smith.
Larry Johnson.
Yeah,
had it too,
maybe
was it?
Larry
Maybe,
Johnson,
yeah.
the better one.
All right.
Good
I'm
transition
gonna
to
still
go with Pete. Yeah.
I'm gonna still pick I'm gonna still pick Arizona here because I when it comes down to it, I always pick Arizona. I'm gonna say this though. I do believe, and tell me where I'm wrong or tell me I'm right. Hopefully you're telling me I'm wrong. I just look at this, first of all, it's at home. I look at UConn right now, and I think that UConn is the best team in the country. I could be totally wrong on that. I could be, but I look at the matchups, and I think they're a little bit better on the perimeter. I think they're a little bit bigger, a little bit better up front. I think the bench is similar, and you got obviously an advantage with Hurley. I think it's close, but I do think that UConn's just got a little bit more from just a physicality skill perspective. Guys, am I wrong? Please tell me.
You're not
Jesse,
wrong,
you're up.
Aaron. I want to hand this to you by way of bringing us back to what Mike and I were talking about earlier. I was trying to impart upon him the depth of identification that New Englanders have about their basketball. And if I'm right, UConn has won 36 straight non-conference home games, and they're 45-2 at home under Danny. The last time they lost at Gamble to anyone outside of a conference foe was St. Joe's 6 years ago.
Wow.
Mike, I'm going to give you two guesses.
Was Phil Martelli still their coach?
Phil Martelli may have still had hair, but the other team to beat Danny Hurley at home, can you get one guess, Mike? Was the
ASU.
year before? Was the Ryan Luther led Arizona Wildcats at the XL Center. So they haven't lost in
I was at that game.
You were there. They haven't lost in 6 years at home. And so Aaron, I was trying to impart upon the intensity of regionalism that exists where there just is no alternative to losing. If you drive from Bradley Airport in Connecticut, the first sign you'll see is University of Connecticut, basketball center of the world. And it's not tongue in cheek.
Couple things. So one, I was at that Arizona game. Shout out Brandon Williams' dad who got me tickets. I was back on the East Coast, and he's like, "Oh, I can't go. Do you want my tickets?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." So shout out Brandon Williams' dad. I'm glad to see he's Brandon's playing great. Yeah. So yeah, what was just said is 100% accurate. And I think it's a few things. One, I don't think people understand like how much. Like everyone talks about, Kentucky's this great basketball state. North Carolina's this great basketball state. The amount that people care about UConn basketball, I would say, is as high in Connecticut as it is. And by the way, I would include, Arizona and Tucson, but it is as high as pretty much anywhere. And the other thing, too, is that I do think that the state gets a lot of its, personal pride out of the UConn athletic department. And, because people talk about all the time, like, oh, the state of Alabama, like if Alabama loses, it's a dark day. It's a dark Sunday. It's like, it's kind of the same in Connecticut, and I've always said, for people who don't know the geography, Connecticut's kind of halfway between, it's in between Boston and New York. So half the state is Red Sox fans, half the state is Yankees fans, half the state is Giants fans, half the state is Patriots fans. And UConn athletics is the only thing that Connecticut people can call their own. And so it means a ton. There is no doubt. There's a great sense of self-worth that comes with the team being good. And I think, to the point that you just brought up, like, I think that Dan Hurley understands that and epitomizes it, right? Yes. And like, the thing I would say is like, I understand why others don't like Dan Hurley. And this isn't just like he's my coach, so I blindly have to defend him. And it's like, no, that's not what this is about. But I do think it's one of those things of like, the guy fits the school, the guy fits the program, the guy fits the geography of where he's coaching. And so I just bring it up because like, that's not an act from Dan Hurley. Like he's angry, he's mad, he's in a bad. That's called being from Connecticut. Like my wife constantly is like, "Why are you in a bad mood?" I'm like, "I'm not in a bad mood. I'm just how I am. I walk around with a frown on my face. I'm
you got
whatever.
resting Torres face.
It's so
exactly,
true.
Exactly. And so that's why it's always funny to me when it's like an NFL job opens and it's like. Or an NBA job opens and it's like
a what job opens?
An MNBA, excuse me. And people are like, well, I'm just so glad that imagine Dan Hurley coaching these guys. It's like Dan Hurley would figure it out. He'll be fine. But the point that I'm trying to make is he is the perfect fit at UConn, just like Jim Calhoun was the perfect fit at UConn. And it makes sense. And so that is a super long answer to that question. I think he's a great fit for all of the reasons that I mentioned. And I think the ethos of the UConn fan is, I think it's pretty much exactly on point.
All right. H. Fuchs, also from UConn, says, Torres, Frank Pepe's Sally's are modern. I don't know what any of that is.
Okay, so
Pizza.
another geography lesson. So
Little Caesars is the answer.
yeah, Little Caesars is the answer. So I am from Central Connecticut. New Haven is about 45 to 50 minutes away from where I live. I won't tell you what the nickname of New Haven is because it's a little un-PC slash.
Oh, just say it. Come on.
They call it. I'll say it. Whatever.
Yeah,
If I get canceled, I get canceled. They call it Gun Waving New Haven. I would not walk around New Haven at nighttime outside of the pizza areas.
I like it.
It's go look up some crime statistics from like when I was growing up there. It wasn't a place that you hung out at.
Were you packing?
No, but it's so actually, I'll tell you a quick funny side story because this is a stream. You guys don't have to be off at any specific time,
yeah,
right?
We're good. Yeah. Keep nobody's watching. It doesn't matter.
When Hurley obviously, like there was a half a second where Kentucky fans thought Hurley was going to get the Kentucky job, and he never entertained it. But like, so I kind of did the spiel on social media about why he would have never fit at Kentucky. It's a better fit, whatever. And I said something about if you're not from Connecticut, you don't understand or something like that. And people are like, so all these Kentucky fans is like they're like cockroaches. You stomp out 2 of them, 5 more come back. But anyway, so they're like, oh, nobody's afraid of anybody from Connecticut. And I'm like, just look up the crime statistics from New Haven and Bridgeport. Like,
Waterbury.
You think about Mike. Guess what the nickname for Waterbury is? You want to take a guess? Waterbury's not a great place to hang out at night either.
Waterbury. No, what is it? What's it called?
The dirty water. The dirty water.
The dirty water. Oh,
yeah.
It sounds like you need some Foster Plumbing for that. Oh, yeah. No, that's great.
You need more than Foster Plumbing. But yeah. So people are like, yeah. You think you're tough because you're from Connecticut? I'm like, I'm not saying that I'm tough. Yeah. I am saying there's some parts of Connecticut that you don't want to walk through on a late evening night. So, does that answer your question about the team? Or I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
We're spot on. Yeah.
Dart, before we let you go, we need a prediction from you, my friend.
We're not going to talk about the game?
We did some of it.
We 40 minutes. The reason I can't have 3 people on at the same time because I don't know how to run the reads, and Cody isn't on here right now.
No problem.
Me,
I'll clear the dance floor. Apologies to my Wildcat faithful. As a Connecticut-born person who grew up having to watch the arrogance of localism around the Jim Calhoun era, I would love nothing more than to see my Arizona Wildcats go into Gamble. I just think it's a lot to ask of this team at this stage of development. And so if I'm being realistic, I think UConn's going to play an outstanding game. They like to Torres's point, there is no actual belief in losing. It's like, this is life or death. This is like Braveheart level stuff that they bring. And that's to their credit. So I think we'll play well.
It's not an act either.
It's not an act.
Yeah, and you can tell by the way they play. That is the standard. But keep going. I don't mean to cut you off, Cody.
No, Jesse. Yeah, no worries.
Jesse.
Cody's the producer. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Danny will not sleep. Right. So, I'll say this though. I think this game is house money for us. I think we learn a lot either way. I think, as Yoda Foe said, we get tape from how Dan Hurley attacked us, Todd Golden attacked us, and Mick Cronin attacked us before Thanksgiving. That's an unbelievable learning tool. So I'm not trying to give any silver lining. I think we're going 81-70 UConn. They're just going to overwhelm us a little bit, but we're going to come out hopefully feeling pretty good about where we're headed.
All right. You are the absolute man, Jesse. Dart, you are the man. We very much appreciate you. We'll have you on again, my man.
Jesse.
Yeah,
it's all right, my friend. Really good to be here. Shout out to Wildcat Authority at AZ12.
Yeah, appreciate
Go
you,
Wildcats.
My man. All right, we'll talk to you soon. Back to the A, baby. Okay. All right, now All right. Yeah, appreciate you, Dart. All right, now let's see. Oh, we got a $10 super snap. Andre Veras asking Aaron Torres a question. Torres, love having you on. Through 4 games, what are you most optimistic about with this Arizona team compared to last year, and what worries you the most to make a deep run in March? What do you got?
Great question. And I think it speaks to, in my opinion, what a lot of this game comes down to. What I'm optimistic is Peat. I listen, you and I were obviously in the building. I have not been to an Arizona game since the Peat Florida debut. Surprise, surprise. I know that's shocking. And I know that statistically, the Florida game was probably his best game. But I do think, like, physically, the fact that dude can just take over games, I think it has to have you optimistic. And I think, to the point of the question and to the point that Jesse just made on the way out, is that, like, you're learning the good and the bad with Peat from the perspective of, okay, like it's almost like, so tonight Arizona or Kansas plays Duke, right? Duke's first game, Sean Miller, who, by the way, actually fits that Northeast ethos
he really
that I was talking about.
He?
Yeah. That's yeah. So I thought, he had a good game plan for Cam Boozer. So it's like, it's the chess game of how do you adjust and how do you change what you're doing based on what everybody else has done. And so I bring that up to say that, it's kind of the same with Peat. Okay. Todd Golden didn't really have an answer. Then Mick Cronin had a better answer. What is Dan Hurley going to do? How does Tommy Lloyd alternate that? But I think when you have a 20-10 guy or an 18-12 guy or whatever he is, I think that's the best thing about it. I think the thing that concerns me, and maybe it shouldn't be a concern based on how ADO played on Friday against UCLA, is if you can take either Koa or Jaden Bradley out of the game, is there enough scoring around them? And I remember I actually watched a little bit of that St. Peter's exhibition back, to start the season in the preseason. And that was my first takeaway. I'm like, are they, as in Arizona, are they like one guy short? Because
right.
Krivas kind of is what he is at this point. Obviously, Awaka is what he is. And I know you and Jason have been talking a lot about Braden Burries. I've seen some of your tweets. You would have better insight into what the struggle is. But yeah, I think you have to get Braden Burries going at some point. I think it's a tough ask on Wednesday night in Gamble Pavilion. But I bring that up as kind of the X factor.
Yeah, well, no, I agree with you. Braden Burries is the key to me for this team. Jaden Bradley, I think you know what you're going to get at this point. And again, if he's not an All-American level guy, he's certainly an All-Conference type guy. He's fantastic. I mean, he took over against UCLA there in the end. He was great. Koa's struggled a little bit, but obviously, I think we know what Koa is. Braden Burries is that guy, though, that they need to be that third scorer. They need Braden Burries to be somewhere between 12 to 14 points. And again, was ranked number 9 in the country last year. You guys are getting back a top 12 rated guy here, and we'll talk about that getting healthy against Arizona. But Arizona needs Braden Burries to be better. Now, I will say this. I think it is a sign maybe of Arizona's margin for error that he's been terrible, basically. And they beat Florida and UCLA without him. So, I'll put it at that. What is your and I talked about this a little bit before you came on. Caravan worries me in this game.
Sure.
Because, like I said, when Tommy's teams don't play well, it's generally because they just refuse to guard a 3-point shooter. Caravan hasn't missed yet this season, last I checked. That Peat Caravan matchup, what do you think about that?
It's interesting because I think, a UConn fan would look at it as the opposite of, can Caravan physically match up with Peat? And I do think that's where, everybody, and listen, I was obviously higher on Arizona than most. You and I have talked about it, and we talked about it after the Florida game. But I will say, like, I think even I underestimated the girth that Arizona does have and the physicality down low, right? And so it's like UConn really doesn't have that second guy. So if Krivas is playing against Terrace Reed, can Alex Caravan handle Peat? And maybe it's not a just Alex Caravan thing, but it's funny because I think if you ask the UConn fan, they would look at it almost from the opposite side of things of like, is Koa going to go for 30 and 20 or whatever he did against Florida because he doesn't have the physicality. So that's where I think the chess match comes in. As far as Caravan, I will say, selfishly or biasly, maybe is the right word, he really struggled last year. And he was one of the guys that, one, he got a concussion early. He was never really the same. He lost his confidence, missed some free throws late in a game, and kind of it became a talking point in the UConn community about, basically cost him a game.
Where's his confidence level at?
Yeah. And it was like a season long thing. And I think he was also hurt by, the roster last year for UConn just wasn't good enough. So I think UConn fans biasedly are very happy to see him having the success that he is having, and him, individually having the success. But I think as much as there's an advantage offensively for UConn with Caravan's ability to stretch the floor, I think there's also an advantage defensively where Koa could be bullying him a little bit.
Yeah, and that's what I think. Arizona, it's kind of you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other. I mean, that's where Koa, I think, has to dominate as well, is against Caravan on the other, on the other end of the court. Talk a little bit about UCLA. Talk a little bit about UConn's bench, because you got Malachi Smith, obviously. You got the big 7'1" kid, the big white guy. Then you got Stewart from Seattle, and then you're getting back Braylon Mullins, a top 12 player who's healthy now for Arizona. But talk a little bit about UConn's bench, because it seems like they have some pretty quality depth.
Yeah, I actually give Hurley credit. I think, what I find in this NIL era is that more and more the smart coaches, you put most of your NIL chips into, the 2-3 big players that are going to be X factors. You look at BYU. Most of their NIL money is tied to DeBonsa, Saunders, and Rob Wright, right? And then you just got to find pieces that fit around them. And with UConn, I thought he did a really good job. Like, Malachi Smith was a dude that was at Dayton. And like, he enters the portal, you can stay at Dayton, whatever. You can go down, you can go to an equivalent level, be a star, whatever. Come here. We need a guy like you. You're going to play a lot of minutes. You might not be a starter. You might be a starter, but you're going to play on the biggest stage in the biggest games. Come here and be a part of that. And so I thought he did a really good job filling out that roster, and kind of having an intentional plan. Ryba is almost the Donovan Clingan of his freshman year. If you remember, Clingan was a guy that, I know you remember, but maybe for a commenter that might not remember, is like, Clingan was kind of this dude that would give him 8-10 minutes off the bench, and he'd fly around, and, he's true 7'1", 7'2", whatever. But it was Adama Sanogo who was the starting center. And so Ryba, it was very much the same. I just think it was really intentional about, for lack of a better term, having two of everything, having guys that can shoot, guys that can pass, having length on the perimeter. And I really do like the roster and how it all came together. I think, going back to the BYU game, which, by the way, I don't know what the situation was out in Tucson, but in LA, they went away from the BYU UConn game for the South Carolina USC women's game with 8 minutes to go. And I flipped out, like the likes of which the world has never seen.
First of all, you got a sport on nobody wants to watch. Second of all, I'm watching this sport as well. Leave it. Oh my gosh, what a terrible programming decision.
Well, the other thing too, little side tangent on a couple things.
Yuck.
One, Juju, what's her name? Juju Watkins?
Juju Wilson? Juju Watkins.
Juju
Watkins.
Watkins.
Yeah, USC player.
She's not playing. She's out for the year.
Right.
So, what are we even doing? That's one. Two, on top of that, here's the other thing. I'm not even trying to be funny when I say this. There is a huge Mormon population in LA that I know was tuned in to that BYU UConn game. So it was just a catastrophic decision, whatever. But there was a point with the BYU game. I think if you were looking for, because you referenced that UConn might be the best team in the country, they win that game. Solo Ball, who was preseason All Big East first team, 2 of 6 shooting from the field. Braylon Mullins did not play. I don't even know if Arizona is going to get the best version of UConn, but there is a best version of UConn. They didn't even have it against BYU, and were able to largely control that game until the final few minutes.
All right, this EM777 keeps putting a bunch of false news out there. Hey, I've been beat up for the last year and a half for saying how much I like ADOs. So, yeah, take that somewhere else. Dennis Walsh and the
You have been an ADO guy always.
Yeah, man, I love ADO. Also, off topic, DeBansa. Holy crap.
Well, I missed all of the good stuff.
You missed it. Loser. But, man, he's something else, man. Like, it was like there was like a switch that flipped, and he was like, okay, I'm the best player on the court. It's time to be that guy.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of, and I understand there's all sorts of stuff about the NIL reports, but, like, he is a great teammate. He's a great kid. Everybody around that program like loves him.
Right.
And I think almost to a fault, he just kind of wants to be one of the guys. And like, I think there's two things that are kind of like conversely true at the same time. Well, really 3 or 4. One, his high school team was not good last year, so he had to do everything.
Right.
And so I think he's got some bad habits to break from high school. I think conversely, he's trying to fit in college. And I think it's been a thing that BYU is still trying to figure out of how do we keep Saunders involved? Rob Wright can get to the rim anytime he wants. But then with DeBonsa, again, I was talking to my UConn buddies about this yesterday because I couldn't watch the end when he took over. One, he's got that little step back jump shot. But 2, he can just get to the rim anytime he wants. And it's a gift and a curse, right? Of like, it's almost like LeBron in his day. Like LeBron didn't become a good 3-point shooter until he was probably 30 because he could just get to the basket.
DeBance's got a little bit of like Tracy McGrady in him.
That's what everybody says. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I kind of like that one, honestly. Like, because when you watch him, he's smoother with the ball than you think until you actually see it. And then you're like, oh crap, this guy's really, really good. I think they're in a lot of trouble, though, because I'm not saying Kennard Davis is great, but you basically now have 4 players and then white guys off the bench. You needed to have. You don't have to address that, but I will.
I thought something funny I saw on social media.
But they just don't have enough at that point. Again, I'm not saying he's great, but like I said, if you got 4 really good guys and then 2 white guys, that's generally not going to be good enough. What say you?
It'll be interesting. I still think, to me, the bigger thing is, how do you get all those? And by the way, all I will say about Kennard Davis is
this a Kennard?
What's that?
Is this a Kennard?
I don't know. Is there an inside joke that I'm missing?
No. You know what like a Kennard is?
No, I don't
like
know.
It's like a fake. Like somebody give him the definition of a Kennard. It's like a fake. It's like a fake point or something. Kennard. It's Canard. Yeah, I'm being funny. All right, go ahead.
All right. All I'll say about Kennard Davis is this: is if you read the police report, it was at 11:45 a.m. going to the airport, and so to me, certainly if that's alcohol, forget the honor code. Like you need
got
to
bigger
yourself.
issues.
Yeah,
in life,
forget the honor code. And so I don't know for sure, but he was nursing an injury. The fact that he, even the way Kevin Young framed it was, he's suspended for this game, team violation. I think they're going to try to sell. I don't know what the truth is. I think they're going to try to sell that it was like a bad reaction to pain meds. I don't. And if it was,
right,
does that mean he misses the whole year? I don't know. And maybe
that shouldn't. That's totally different for me because I think you also have to gauge intent. Honestly, if it's alcohol, I mean, and this is what I said from day one. If it's alcohol and you're doing it at BYU, you're just a dummy. I mean, you should almost be suspended just for being stupid. If it's a pain medication or something, that to me, sure, suspend him a couple games or whatever. But that to me is totally different. I judge intention at that point.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to be funny when I've never taken pain meds outside of like Tylenol, so I don't know like what side effects are.
You're from Connecticut.
Tough guy, yeah. You rub some dirt on it. Yeah. Dirty Waters right down
Dirty
the street,
Waters,
man.
baby. What was the other one?
Gunwave in New Haven, baby.
Yeah, Gunwave in New Haven.
Yeah, so really quickly on the New Haven thing. So like the whole pizza culture thing wasn't really like it was kind of known like Don Pepe's is like the spot, like, and it's a pretty famous place. But it's kind of like taken on this culture of its own since I left Connecticut about a decade ago. Like I had a buddy who was in Connecticut over the summer or was in like New York City or something and drove like an hour and a half and then stood in a line for like an hour and a half. And I'm like,
holy, that's way too much.
I don't know that I do that.
Is that where Pizzagate occurred in UConn?
What's that?
Pizzagate? Never mind. That's politics. Okay. So
what
anyways. Ask somebody else to look it up. It's a rabbit hole I don't want to go down, but
okay. Well, we're getting to dark some dark places.
We're getting to dark stuff right here. Okay, now let's look around college basketball right now. I'm gonna say this. I think there's about 5 or 6 teams that I think.
Before we get to that, can I ask you a question?
Of course. No, maybe. Sure.
Do you or Sheer, because you guys are plugged in,
right,
do you know what's going on with Darren Peterson? Is it a thing or is it not a thing?
I don't really know about that, but I worry anytime. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no inside information on just what I've read. What do you
know?
Hey, you're the national source. You tell us.
That's one I don't have a ton on. I will say I would find it weird for him, like, so for people who don't know what we're talking about, Darren Peterson, star freshman, Kansas, like, there's a very weird injury, and Bill Self before the last game was like, we hope to have him back soon. And then immediately after the game was just like, we're not going to have him back soon. And he had missed 2 games. And the insinuation was kind of like, whatever the injury is, he'll be back for Duke. But there was also like this weird insinuation in the Kansas fan base that he wasn't actually hurt and that he was load managing. And so the actual insinuation was like, we don't care if he plays against these crappy teams as long as he's back for Duke. Well, he's not playing tonight, unless something has happened in the last hour that I missed. And if he's not playing tonight, it's either 1, a more serious injury than anybody realizes, or 2, there's some weird load management thing. Now, I think it's crazy, especially in a year where like he isn't the definitive number 1 pick. Like he's in the conversation. And if he just shut it down,
I got real questions about him at that point. If it shut, and at that point too, I think at that point, if that really does happen, I think you have to move on from Self. Because
true. Well, I was just going to say, in this draft though, you could go from like number 1 to number 7 if it got out that you were just shutting down, and then that's tens of millions of dollars. But as far as Self is concerned, that's a great counterpoint that I hadn't even considered. So.
Yeah, I mean, because at that point, you're just not Kansas anymore, and even the good players you're getting are saying, yeah, I'm good. I'm going to go sit over here on the bench and have some fun. So, yeah, we shall see.
So you were saying top number of teams that you thought were good.
All right, so I basically look at everything from the lens of who is basically better than Arizona, or because I don't really care about teams that are worse. So here's a couple questions then. I want to talk about Houston. I thought Houston was going to take a step back this season, mainly because the guys they lost, I don't think you can just easily replace. Chris Senac is really, really good. I get all that. But he's a good prospect. He's also not Jawan Roberts, who was like a 6-year guy. And if you got to bounce on the Kiffin stuff, I just saw that as well.
No. What happened? What did they say?
Well, I just got to.
I saw that he said
he says that's absolutely not true.
That there was an ultimatum. Yeah, that part I saw before I left, and then from there. Now here's the question, Mike Luke, a little inside media, and then I promise we'll get back to your questions about college basketball. I did a segment today, earlier on my show, where I said I believe there is an ultimatum, and. Do I now, like, I was going to clip off the segment and run the segment as a standalone segment later. Do I not run the segment now because he countered that?
No, you still run the segment because that's what he's going to say. I mean, what's he going to say? That, he's going to say that. I would absolutely run that segment still. Cool. Yeah.
Basketball. I'm sorry,
basketball. Bro. Yeah, no, we're going to get to college football because, as everybody knows, we are a football school here at the U of A.
I hear all about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, duh. Okay. Houston. I think Houston takes a step back. The main reason why is because I don't think you can properly quantify how good Jawan Roberts was for what they did, plus the fact he was there for 9 years. And then L.J. Cryer was the one guy that they had that could make plays off the bounce. Sharp is mainly just a sharpshooter. I do think, though, they need Uzon to play like an All-American. If he doesn't play like an All-American, then I just think they take a step back. Now, if he becomes an All-American again, then they're right back in it. But I haven't loved what I've seen from Houston so far. I do like the Kingston Fleming's kid or whatever his name is. He's good. He's really good.
Yeah, I watched the Arizona or the Auburn game over the weekend. I'm sure you did. Mm-hmm. And I think my 2 takeaways were kind of yours. Is like they're still good defensively. But they're not like Houston good defensively. Yeah. Like Jawan Roberts was the guy that and I don't do like the X's and O's stuff, but like when a guy hard hedges out like on a ball screen or whatever, like Chris Senac or whoever was playing Senac was like, it was good. It was like a solid B+. Jawan Roberts was like the equivalent is the kid that sits in the front row of class and answers every question by raising their hands. That was how Jawan Roberts played defense. Like the way that Jesse described like UConn fans being life and death. Like that was how Jawan Roberts played defense. And so I don't quite see that. And then I think to your point, they got great offensive games from the freshmen. Mm-hmm. The upperclassmen did not play very well. But the counter to that is that I thought the freshmen looked a little bit better than I thought, but I thought the upperclassmen looked worse. Now, it is worth noting this. if you remember last year, they went to that Players Era tournament, which
Yeah.
I'll actually be at next week. And
Oh, nice.
yeah, back to Vegas for Torres. But
You deserve it. You staying at the Circa?
I'm staying at Circa, yeah.
Duh.
What was I gonna say? Circa.
Players
Houston.
tournament. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, remember last year they lost 2 games in that event, and it was like, oh, maybe Houston's not as good this year. And then they literally lost 1 game until the national championship game, which they were up like 8 with 2 minutes to go or whatever.
Right.
So he figures it out in season. But I will say, like, I thought it was fair to say, hey, you lost a bunch of 5th and 6th year seniors. You're replacing them with true freshmen. You know, we know true highly compensated freshmen. We know that's an X factor. And I think the freshmen are playing fine. I don't think that's the issue. But I do wonder if it is sustainable at the level that it's been the last 2 seasons since they got to the Big 12.
Now, Cam's Videos says, hey, Torres, I'm working that tournament. I'll stop by and say hello. Always come by and say hello and take a picture with Torres, too, and get him to say back the A in the meantime. Now, let's talk about your favorite school, Purdue. So, all right, listen. I don't like giving the Big Ten any credit because I can't stand cold soup basketball. It's cold soup basketball. It's cold soup
The
football.
truck stop schools, that's what Bill Walton used to call them.
Just terrible stuff to watch. But Purdue's good. Braden Smith's the best point guard in the country. I still don't think they're going to win. I still don't think they're going to win anything. But what do you think about Purdue this year? Everybody likes Purdue.
I think all of it can be true. Is that they were my preseason number 1 team.
I was hoping that you would come back. I was hoping you would say that.
No, I was going to say, like, my interpretation of preseason number 1 is who is the best team right now this second. And when you return whatever it was, 4 starters, 5, I don't know, it might have been 5, I can't even remember, off of a Sweet 16 team that was a game away or a play away from beating Houston, like, you should be the preseason number 1. But I do think, like, the stuff with athleticism, I think, is an issue. Now Purdue fans would counter Alabama. Alabama is small, and
Alabama doesn't have big men.
Exactly.
That's the problem. I like Alabama, but they don't have any big men, and that's going to be a problem. Losing the white dude from
Grant Nelson.
Grant Nelson. Yeah. Losing. They didn't properly replace him. I mean, I love their guards. Feline's great. But I don't really see that. I don't really see it with Alabama. What are you laughing at?
Feline.
Or feline, Falone, whatever it is. Feline, yeah. He's got a cat. He's got a cat type mentality to it.
Feline is back in the A. Feline is the guy that plays it out.
All right, I'm just going to ask you right now: is UConn the best team in the country? Take your UConn jacket off, Torres, and just have your UConn brain on.
Jacket. I mean, listen, they were my preseason pick to win the national championship. So
I thought you just said that Purdue was your preseason number 1.
They were my preseason number 1. That doesn't mean they were my preseason pick.
Oh, I see.
No, I can't pick Purdue to win the national championship.
Right.
I will say, if Purdue makes the Final Four, 1, I might need a security detail in Indianapolis. I'm not lying. But 2, that place is going to be insane. But no. So Purdue was my preseason number 1 because I felt like in the moment they deserved – they had the best team on November 1st or whenever the AP poll came out. But UConn, to me, I think has the highest combination of all the things you look for. They have NBA dudes. They have returning players, which I think increase.
What dudes?
They got dudes that are going to be playing professional basketball at the highest level with their male peers. I don't know what league you call that, but
okay.
So they have MNBA players, a lot of them. They have girth for sure. But the other thing, like, everyone forgets every offseason, like, having dudes coming back matters. Yeah. And it's just, and they have good players too. Like, Solo Ball was second team all Big East last year. Terrace Reed by the end of the year was one of the best big guys in college basketball. So to me, like, I feel like everyone totally slept on that. And I don't totally know why. So yes, I think right now they're probably the best team. I'm trying to think of who else I wouldn't say Purdue's better than them. I wouldn't say Houston's better than them. I wouldn't say St. John's is better than them. I wouldn't say BYU is better than them. By the way, I think I'm going to be right on Texas Tech. I like Texas Tech. I never understood why everyone was that excited. Like, it's JT Toppin and a bunch of mid-major guys that you're hoping all hit. And some of them are going to hit.
There's 2 teams in there that I didn't get. I didn't get Texas Tech, and I didn't get Iowa State.
Sure.
I guess we'll find out. But Iowa State, they just lost a lot, And I know they got Josh Jefferson and the guy with the Eastern European guy that's from Wisconsin. Actually, I can't remember.
Yeah, I know
his name.
Milan Mikovic. Or something.
Yeah, but he's from like he's born and raised in like Madison, Wisconsin, or something. Yeah, I got in trouble. Wisconsin.
Another rant from me.
Talk to me.
You're Illinois Fighting Illini, okay?
Hey, real quick, you tried telling me last year that they were going to be a problem, and then they came back to earth. So be very careful here, young man.
No. This is my rant on them. One, I do think they're good. Two, everyone's pushing this Balkan 5 thing of all of their players are Eastern European. Andrei Stojakovic is from Sacramento. It doesn't get more American than Sacramento, California.
Yes.
The Central Valley of California is the most American place. It's apple pie, baseball in the summer, and Sacramento is as American as it gets. It's like, what are we doing?
Our good pal Ben White was raised in Sacramento. There's literally goats in his backyard. Although maybe that is an Eastern European thing.
Did Ben White tell you that I hung out with him at the airport the day after
he
the
did
Florida
tell me.
game?
He said, dude, I'm hanging out with the great Aaron Torres. And I said, Ben White and Aaron Torres? How cool is that?
I meant to text you, but I'm walking through and I hear Torres, and I thought I was hearing stuff.
Yeah.
And it was Ben White. And so we hung out at the airport.
By the way, if you're worried about if Purdue is in the Final Four and you're worried about your safety, here's all you need to have happen. You need to have Arizona get into the Final Four as well. You will have your own personal security detail from the entire Arizona fan base. They will absolutely protect you. You are not to be harmed under any circumstances. So,
thank you.
Yeah, yes.
I had when I came to the tailgate at a beer house in Vegas, I had an Arizona fan buy me a beer before the game. So
yeah, Jeremiah Dibble, a good buddy of mine. Okay, now let me ask you this: I don't see it with Michigan. People keep trying to tell me about Michigan. Here's my questions about Michigan. 2 things: is Axelberg or whatever that guy, or Axel Yandenberg, is he actually that good? Because he's averaging like 9 and 4, and half the time he doesn't play. I know they got Cadeau. I like Mara. What is your take on Michigan?
So a couple things. One, I did question the guards. You know, Elliot Cadeau, I thought got a little tiny bit of a bad rap. You know, his stats improved as a sophomore, but he's 5'11" and isn't a great shooter.
Right.
And it's like, you do the math on, you know, what does success look like in basketball in 2025? Not a lot of 5'11" point guards that can't shoot, you know?
Right.
And so that worried me. And I think increasingly, I probably should have made a bigger deal about this, but when you and I were sitting there watching Arizona, Florida, it was like Florida doesn't have wings.
Right.
And it was like everyone just sold us on, they're going to play all these big guys and it'll work. And it really hasn't yet.
Right.
And I know they're trying to say, Tommy Hawk's a 3. And I'm not even like a analytics guy, but all of the analytics people tell you that their best lineup last year was Tommy Hawk at the 4 and then Alex Condon at the 5.
Right.
And so it's like they have no wings. And I think that's kind of the same with Michigan is I think they probably have some metric in some database somewhere that says Yaxel, Merez Johnson, and Adai Mara can all play together.
But they can't.
Or at least they haven't proven it so far. And so I think it's interesting. And I think, you know what actually part of their problem is, I think, is that Merez Johnson is just, I think, better than people realized. And so he got there. He played on that Team USA team with Koa. And if you remember, he was awesome in that tournament.
Right.
And so this is just my hunch. Nobody has told me this. I think they thought Yaxel's going to play the 4, Mara's going to play the 5, and Merez Johnson will be our in between.
Is that swing guy basically backing up both? Yeah, and you got to put him out there.
And now it's like he's awesome, but if he plays at the 4, then Yaxel's at the 3, and it doesn't really make sense. And you can't sit Mara. I saw Sheer tweeting about it, and he was 100% correct. Like, I'll tell you that, dude. I was I was gonna go to the Arizona UCLA game, and then I didn't. But you log on to social media, you know, the fan base is starting to turn on Mick a little bit, and a lot of it is Adai Mara. And I think you and I talked about this last year. I had people from Spain tweeting at me, why is Adai Mara not playing? And he goes for whatever, 18, 13, and 7 blocks or whatever the other day against Wake Forest. It's like, so
you want to know when you know that something isn't sustainable. When you saw this with Ben Howland as well at the end. When you're in LA, I'll always say this, when you're in LA, when you're a coach of UCLA, and you can't recruit LA kids anymore. You can't get the 5-star kids because they're just not interested in you. Look at look at this class right now. Forget Braden Burries and Elijah Arenas, et cetera, et cetera. Look at this class that's coming up in the 2026 class, or what would it, 25, 26, whatever.
26, yeah.
Taj Ariza going to Oregon, legacy kid, 5-star kid.
Legacy kid's bad.
Brandon McCoy not going there. Teron Stokes, obviously a California kid, not going there as well. Jason Crow going to Missouri. I can keep going on and on. They're not getting those kids. And if you can't get those kids, you have an institutional problem at that point, in my opinion.
Well, I think it's an interesting point, and it was funny because on my live stream before this, we were talking about like the James Franklin thing in Virginia and, getting kids to stay and whatever. Or no, it was Lane Kiffin. And people were like, is Florida really a better job? And it is because, you do need year-over-year sustainability. And if it's football, if it's basketball, whatever, the guys that you're more likely to keep if they're not playing are the local kids,
Right.
and it's like, and I was saying this actually ironically about Lincoln Riley. I think this was one of Lincoln Riley's biggest mistakes early on, as he was just like, we're recruiting the best players we can. I don't care if they're from Southern California or from Maine, like we're recruiting
Right.
the best players. And it's like, that's cool that you got the 5-star from Maine, which is a hypothetical. I don't think they have them, but like,
Wait a second, Cooper Flag.
oh, that's right. He is from Maine. Yeah.
Doesn't
Well,
play
he is a
football,
5-star
though.
from Maine. He doesn't play
Yeah.
football.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say is that, no. So, and then you have no depth and guys don't stay. And I think Lincoln Riley, it took him literally 5 years to figure out like, oh, we have 105 scholarships now.
Yeah.
Take 40 kids from SoCal that might not be great, but they're going to stay. They're going to
And I
be
can
good for
develop
practice. They're going to be good for depth. They're going to develop them. Maybe 5 of them hit. But rather than flying to Florida to recruit everybody because they got better players, it's like, take the 4-star from freaking, Calabasas or whatever. Literally, I mean, the running back right now that's playing for them is a true freshman from Calabasas. And it's like, that's the kind of guy that you need to have in the program. So,
well, I mean, and you look at their great teams. You just look at their quarterbacks. I mean, Matt Leinart, modern day. You look at Matt Barkley, modern day. I mean, I can keep going on and on and on. You look at their wide receivers. Back in the day, you had your Steve Smiths. You had your
Amon-Ra St. Brown is a modern day kid, I think,
St.
too.
Brown, Reggie Bush. Heck, Lendale White's from
Colorado, I believe.
Yeah, Colorado. But either way. Okay, we're going to get a couple reads in here, and then we're going to get Torres' prediction. Let's see if we can get him to back the A. Probably not, though. I will back it, though. Okay, but first, though, all right, we got a couple things here. Baggins. Torres, when you come to Tucson, we got to get you to Baggins. We love Baggins on this show. All right, now, Dennis Walsh in the comments eats at Baggins 9 times a week.
I see him tweeting.
Yeah. So he's been to Baggins so much they actually give out free cookies if you just mention his name. But use code AZ12 for 15% off. 12 Arizona locations, locally owned and operated. All food made in house daily. Every sandwich comes with a chocolate chip cookie. Back the A and back the Baggins. Get in there. That looks very, very tasty. Yummy, yummy into my tummy. Okay, now. Let's see here. We got Foster Plumbing now. All right. Torres, does your front pipe work?
My front pipe works. Not everybody's does, though.
Yeah, no, exactly. And if it doesn't work, then you need to call Foster Plumbing. Now get your mind out of the gutter and call Foster Plumbing, though, for this one. Residential and commercial, licensed, bonded, and insured. Water heaters, drain cleaning, 24/7 service because, unlike Aaron Torres, not everybody just works 8 to 5. You're always on the clock, just like Aaron Torres. Breaking news, all that stuff. Foster Plumbing's the same way. 10% off when you mention the AZ12 podcast. Get in there and let them help you. All right, now let's see here. We got one more. We got the Tucson Family Food Project. Direct aid plus life skills development, cooking, nutrition. 255 meal kits per week. 2026 goals, 1,000 meal kits per week. Donations made with the AZ12 comment will be matched cumulative up to $10,000. Get in on a good cause. And one Little Caesars, my friend. Little Caesars. All right, we need real times, everybody. Dennis Walsh, get we need that as well from you, please. Code 1099 bundle, classic pepperoni or cheese pizza, and crazy bread, and a 2-liter soda, $2.99, or code LCFREECC, free crazy combo with any pizza purchase. Okay, now Torres, what is? Hold on a second, I'm running this thing, and that's not good. All right, there's that.
I'm the same way, so don't feel bad at all.
All right, that's not what I'm
That's
looking
you.
for. Yeah, that's me. That's not good. There we go. All right, yeah, we're back. Yeah. All right, Torres, break this game down for me. Arizona wins if, UConn wins if, and then give the Torres prediction.
All right, so a couple things. One, I do want to say this, and I didn't realize this. So the game, and you know this, but UConn has 2 home venues. They have the on-campus arena, Gamble Pavilion, which is crazy, one of the best college basketball venues in America. They also play downtown Hartford, about 40 minutes from campus. It's, communal. It creates revenue for the state capital, whatever. This game is on campus, okay? I'll take it a step further. I did not realize this until I saw a tweet from Sam Calhoun, who is Jim Calhoun's grandson, who goes to UConn and writes for the student newspaper.
Okay.
This is the first top 5 matchup at Gamble Pavilion since February of 2006, when Jay Wright's Villanova Wildcats with Alan Ray and Randy Foy and Kyle Lowry and Mike Nardi, who ironically
Mike Nardi. I remember Mike Nardi. Yeah.
Do you know where he coaches now?
St. Bonaventure.
He's on the UConn staff right now. I got to text him. All right. When I met him, I said, dude, I was in the arena for that. It was a crazy. So first top 5 matchup since 2006. That was the craziest college basketball environment I have been in to this day. I remember it was freezing cold. There was still a camp out. Didn't matter. And UConn beat the brakes off of them. So it's just a really tough place to play.
Was that the Hilton Armstrong team?
That was Hilton Armstrong, Josh Boone, Rudy Gay. I would argue their season
Marcus Williams?
Marcus Williams was the point guard. Yeah. They were at the time the first team to have 5 players drafted off the same team in the same NBA draft. So
what high school Marcus Williams?
He's somewhere from LA. That one I don't know.
Crenshaw. Okay.
That's what I thought. I thought it was Crenshaw. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry for getting you off.
No, it's okay. So it's going to be crazy. And so the X factor for Arizona, you got to get out early. You got to take the crowd out of it. And then I mentioned it earlier, is I do think Peat, I think there should be a physical advantage for him over Alex Caravan. Get him in the paint, get him throwing elbows, and I mean that not in like a sturdy way, just in a physical way.
Right.
And see if you can either get them in foul trouble or get them out of their comfort zone. Because the one thing UConn really isn't built for is like a super rock fight. Their finesse is certainly not the right word because they play so hard, but they just don't have a lot. They don't have a lot of girth, to be perfectly honest. So that's how Arizona wins. Get Koa going early. Get Krivas going early. Krivas is obviously going to be guarded by Terrace Reed, so it does feel like there's a mismatch there.
I don't love that matchup.
For who?
I don't love that matchup for Arizona.
Terrace Reed's pretty good, man.
Yeah,
he's
that matchup
getting
for Arizona.
really good.
He's really good. Yeah.
The count.
How does UConn win?
UConn wins, and I think this is going to be a question that you guys monitor. And I'm sure I'll come back on and we'll talk about it.
Oh yeah.
Bradenberry is going to get going at some point, but right now I do feel like if you can shut down, and when I say shut down, it's all relative, but one of the two, Peat and Jaden Bradley, I do think it usually will put you in pretty good position to win. Now, obviously on Friday night, Koa did not play well, but that was a game played in the 60s. I think UConn can score in a manner that UCLA can't. And so in a game in that one where Koa finishes with 7 points, all of a sudden, if that game is in the 80s, that's not, or if Arizona is giving up 75 plus, that's not a game they can win. So that's the X factor to me for UConn is maybe it's Jaden Bradley. UConn has big guards. Can Silas Demery slow him down? Can you limit ADO, who all of a sudden is now an X factor?
Yeah.
But that one to me is the X factor. One of the two, you got to hold under 25 points. And I think if you do that, you're in pretty good shape.
So if you hold ADO under 25 points,
no. Well, yeah. No. I mean, if
ADO goes for 25, you guys are in deep crap.
Yes, that
Foster Plumbing can't help you at that point.
No. Yeah. A lot of dirty water, like Waterbury, Connecticut. So,
all right, I'm giving my prediction. I'm going Arizona 74, UConn 72. Back in the A. All right, Torres, what are you backing? What do you got? Talk to me.
74-72, you said?
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to steal the same pick.
No. I'll say 79-74. So a slight UConn win. I think Arizona's really good. I mean, you more than anyone have heard my spiel via text message or in person.
Are we going to take our victory lap on KJ Lewis?
He's so good. Yeah, Georgetown's a tournament team. And in all seriousness, like there's a lot of negativity around the Big East right now because Providence sucks and Marquette kind of sucks. Georgetown's a tournament team. They went
Yeah.
to Rupp Arena and belt to what to Kentucky in the exhibition slate. Beat Clemson. By the way, I'm sure you were probably the one that tweeted it into my timeline, but KJ Lewis was like, that was for the Sweet 16.
Yeah, no, it
I'm
was
like,
great.
hell
Yeah.
yeah, KJ Lewis. Tell him, boy.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Yeah, it's really, really cool. So, yeah.
You and I have always been KJ Lewis guys, and
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why it didn't work out last year. I know it was a crowded backcourt with Love and whoever.
Sometimes change is just better for both sides, But
Yeah,
he's
and
good. He's good.
He is, and he's so important to what they do too. Because Ed Cooley, it's almost like a Tom Izzo, like he just wants to beat you up on the glass and whatever. But you need that one guy that can get buckets, and KJ probably needed to be in a place where it was just like, here's the ball. You're the only one capable of getting us 20 points, so go do it. And he's been unbelievable. I love him.
All right, Torres, you are the man. Where can they find you doing all your stuff?
Yeah, Aaron_Torres on Twitter, at Aaron Torres Pod on Instagram. Aaron Torres Pod on Instagram, the Aaron Torres Podcast. We stream every Sunday morning, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So Monday's usually kind of a post. We do the reaction show on Sunday. And I think that's the best place to find me. Obviously, tomorrow when we go live, we'll be previewing this game. We go live early, 11 Eastern, 8 Pacific. So, great for if you're on the West Coast, if you're driving into work, you want a little college football, college basketball talk, tune us in. We're live on YouTube. Obviously, the podcast normally goes up right after, although today the podcast is on delay because I am here previewing Arizona UConn. So,
yeah. All right, Torres, you are the man. All right, we'll get this all loaded. We thank you again, Aaron Torres, and everybody in the comments. You are the greatest. All right. Oh, super snaps real quick. Hold on. Let's get these. Tom Smallwood. So Big 12 is keeping us competitive going into March. So tired of just dominating the conference and coming up short. Agreed. What do you got?
Real quick, Big 12. Any chance they get 2 football bids? I think BYU and Texas Tech deserve it.
Agreed. I believe Tech is the. I'll put it to you like this. I believe Tech's the only team that can actually do damage in the playoffs. But I think the 2 teams do deserve it. I agree with you on that one, Torres. Be great.
Yeah, it might be. I'll say this. I think the rankings tonight will be interesting. Alabama should be behind BYU. I don't know if they will be, but they should be.
Absolutely.
2-loss Alabama, 1 loss to an unranked team. And I think the committee can even justify it by saying, well, if BYU loses to Texas Tech, we'll just drop them back down. But no, Texas Tech, really quick, I'll just say, because now all these outlets, ESPN, whatever, On3 are putting out their mock brackets or whatever. I see a lot of people like, oh, we get Texas Tech. Bro, you don't want that Texas Tech smoke. I'm just telling you.
Be careful on that one because they're like, I think when people look at the Big 12, they're like, oh, poverty football, this or that. That ain't Texas Tech, man. They're a different animal when it comes to that because they're probably spending more money than you.
And they got to, and we talked about this with basketball, just NBA guys versus non-NBA guys. And it's the same with football. They have probably like a bunch of guys that are going to get drafted, but they certainly have a first-round pick, at least one on the edge, and probably 5 or 6 guys that are going to be like day 2 guys. Second, third round. So
exactly. So, all right, Torres, you're the man. We'll definitely get you on again soon. And as always, very much appreciate you. On that note, though, and KJ hasn't played anyone. He destroyed to Kentucky, so you can go with that one as you will. Okay, on that note, though, for the great Aaron Torres, I'm merely Mike Luke, TTFN, ta-ta for now.